Okay, everybody, ding, ding, ding. We are back, and this is Ringside. This is Trey Amazing, and y'all know what it is, your favorite part-time stripper, part-time megachurch pastor, but full-time dating commentator. And I am here with the intrepid, and I do mean intrepid, extraordinary. He is known all over Atlanta. He is a performance artist, a gender queer leather person, none other than Daddi Cole. What's up?
Hello, Trey Amazing. How are you today?
Hey, it's a bright and pretty sunny day.
It's beautiful out, isn't it?
Very beautiful. And I think today is a perfect day to talk about Edgeplay. And you are the person, you are the one for this interview. I've seen you perform at several events here in Atlanta. You have a reputation. People know Daddi Cole.
I'm going to one tonight at Apache.
See?
There's something kinky happening over there tonight.
Yeah, a lot of kinky things happen in Atlanta. That's why this is Hot Atlanta. So you are, well, first and foremost, a leather person. Explain what, leather and how that is and how that is congruent to BDSM.
So let me start by saying this is one person's view. I remember being at a munch about 2 years ago, and that's a brunch that leather people will meet up and have, just have some fellowship. And someone who had been there for the very first time raised her hand and said, this may sound silly, but can you tell me what leather is? And the room broke out into laughter because leather is something different for every person. And then we, of course, had to apologize to her because she thought we were laughing at her, and we were laughing at how many answers she would get if she went person to person. The advice that I would give is to look up leather history, and maybe your search terms might be leather, leatherman, kink, and BDSM. And do your own research. And I'm not saying that to you, although you could also do that. But I'm saying that to the audience because you will get so many perspectives on what this is. What it is for me is a spiritual practice that allows me to spend kinky time and friendship time and talk about sex openly time with people who share some of the values around ethics and honesty that I do. Now, the actual love of leather itself is sensual and very engaging for me, especially if it's good leather, right? If it's good leather. But the history goes back to the early 60s where people really began talking openly about what it means to be a leather person, a leather woman, a leatherman. The practices I have learned over the last 18 years of involvement in the community, practices are ancient.
Okay.
Like any form of sexuality and erotic behavior.
And you came dressed in leather, and so
I did.
I'm with it. I did. I've heard of some years back, maybe 4 years ago. I was at Sex Down South conference.
Yeah, Sex Down South.
And I met a gentleman who was dressed in leather. He was talking about the growing leather community, particularly in the black community here in Atlanta. He was talking about it's a growing community. I had no idea. I was completely green. I was like, okay, I don't know what that means, but I just know this gentleman, he was really expressing to me how it's a growing community, definitely comprised of a lot of, African Americans, not just something you equate to white people. I know black people are involved.
Right, and that was certainly the case, I would say, up to when you mentioned having interviewed Lady D. And
big shout out to Lady D.
Shout out. And there are many leather women of her generation that I've met who were not out when they first began practicing leather because it just wasn't a thing black people did. It wasn't a thing women were allowed to be involved in, and certainly when there were lesbian women in those queer leather bar spaces like the Atlanta Eagle and the New York Eagle and whatever Eagle club, leather clubs, we were not welcomed. So queer women, and I'm not sure how Lady D identifies, and I just know she identifies as a leather person, but she and many, and by many I mean maybe 9 of her peers really started opening doors for black women in this way, in the kink and leather communities. So
in a big way, because she is well known. I didn't realize until I interviewed her of her history, her amazing duality of being into kink, but also a reverend, ordained reverend.
Yep.
I just found it so fascinating.
I think there are possibly a lot of also military, paramilitary folks, and people who in other regards may have some really conservative views. I don't necessarily mean politically conservative, but people who are about following protocol and doing things in an orderly fashion. So I think
Following
lifestyle,
a certain kind of etiquette or a
yeah,
certain...
absolutely.
So looking at your profile, I also saw, I mean, you cover a range of kink and fetish and intimacy, but one that stood out was something that I had never heard of until recently, and that's called Edgeplay. And I did a little Googling, I got my Google on a little bit.
Got it on a little bit?
A little bit, that's that, Google,
Gotta do that before an interview.
Oh, absolutely. Google is everywhere.
Yeah.
And I had never, and I do mean recently, like in the last couple of weeks. And so from your perspective, or from your experience, can you give a brief description of what, in terms of kink, what is edge play? Like, what does it constitute?
For me and the folks that I've had interactions with, and I'll use that preface a lot, because that way people won't come on your video and go, that's not right. It's like, that's your experience with edge play.
Like, you had it all wrong.
Yeah. Right. That's how we do it. Right. In my experience, it is kink play or BDSM play that is outside of what people typically do. What people typically do. So when you think of bondage play, for example, you may think of rope play, right? Tying someone up and tying them to a chair or a bed, or putting handcuffs and tying them, whatever, right? An edge play form of rope play might be stringing them up and hanging them over something, over a fence, in the woods. Something that's, a little bit beyond, or a lot beyond the basic practice.
Not your typical date night, but okay.
Not your typical date night, unless you're me or people like me. It could also be using implements in a way that were not intended to be used. I'll give you an example.
All right.
You like examples?
We got props.
So this is just your standard flogger, right? But this end, you might consider putting a condom on it and seeing, where else it can go.
Where it may find itself.
Where it may find itself, right? Let's see. This T-ball. Unless you're conducting an interrogation, which is just a, it's a Q&A, like you see interrogations on television, but it's a kink scene, right? And so someone...
You're both the good and bad cop.
No, I'm not a good cop.
Okay,
no,
just a bad cop.
I wouldn't say that would be accurate about me. But again, it's a bat, but what else could it be with a condom, right? I mean, it just really depends. But in my case, I don't use this for any penetration. I use it just to threaten the bottom.
Again, not your typical
Right.
date night, but it's okay.
Right, and if you're somewhere where you can make noise, this thing that you see on, NCIS goes to just bam, bam, bam. But you have to be able to see, because you don't want to accidentally hit someone in the head, which, let me take a turn just for a second. I'll come right back to Edgeplay. Everything you do must have consent.
Consent is sexy.
When you're doing Edgeplay, get your consent in writing, because some of what you are doing may constitute lawlessness, like abducting someone, right?
But that consent covers everybody. I agree. Consent is sexy. Consent is from covering the events I've covered, and there's been a consistent theme. Consent,
yes.
Consent. And the more you understand, the more you realize how necessary, you understand the utility of it for both or for all parties.
All
involved.
parties, absolutely, right. Because that consent allows me the latitude as a top and a dominant that I have, but it also includes, or typically includes, a safe word, which gives the bottom or the submissive or the slave, or however that person identifies in the scene, the option to stop the scene.
Right.
Stop it. Just to stop it. Right?
So, from what I'm gathering, because again, the very
that made me a little excited that I'm thinking about this right here.
Okay.
That sound like right in someone's ear.
So maybe that is a date night.
That's a date. That could be
Saturday.
A date night. I'm gonna put.
I'm just saying.
You notice this is metal.
It's metal.
Yeah, it's it's metal. It's cold. The knife that I showed you in the beginning, and we'll talk about knife play in particular as a form of edge play.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. The first, when I Googled and I started reading stories, there was a story about a woman who talked about being sexually turned on by feeling cold steel against her nipples and against her skin.
Oh, yes.
And
I'm going to take my hat off. It's getting hot.
Go for it.
Talking about this.
And the woman was talking about edge play and how realizing in her, I think she said in her late 30s or something like that, how it was now a turn on for her. And so in that particular instance in her story, she was talking about a knife. And what you're saying is it's not necessarily knife. It doesn't, it can include knives, but include other things. So what other things would fall under the umbrella of edge play? We can't characterize it as how does it relate to implements per se, right? Because it could be, and I mentioned just a moment ago, abduction, right? And I've actually had the pleasure of witnessing some abductions, had nothing to do with metal or cold anything, right? It was a group of people who had previously gotten consent to drop this lady in a big burlap bag and drag her out of a conference and throw her in the back of a van. I mean, I'm talking about creepy abduction consent, right? Yeah, there's some conference.
Right, but the thing is, she didn't know when it was going to happen. She knew it was going to happen, but she didn't know when.
The element of surprise.
Yes, that's edge play. So there's no metal involved, but to your point about metal has a lot of play in that if it's cold, which it typically is, see, you can put a nipple right in there. And did you say You said
I mean, there will be some noises on my end.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a few noises. So.
Okay, so you've heard of nipple clips, right?
Indeed.
But this has some of the same sensation. You can spin it around. It twists the nipple. I mean, I'm a creative person because I'm not wealthy, so I kink up all kinds of things that were not intended for that.
When you say spin it around, you mean clockwise or
counterclockwise? Kind of doesn't matter. Just how and this is good for bigger nipples. It's such a blast. The thing about knives is that they're sharp. Knife play is my favorite type of edge play because it's edgier, right?
Ooh,
ask me if I've ever cut anyone playing with knives.
Okay, here I go. Have you ever cut anybody playing with knives?
The very first time I played with someone in a dungeon, the very first time, I was so excited, and her ass was so big and juicy that it occurred to me to put the flogger down and to use the knife on her ass.
and you cut it that way.
Did I mention the juicy part?
You did.
Well,
you mentioned juicy.
So some of her ass wrapped around the bottom of the knife, and she got just a little nick, but there was enough nick for me to be horrified, having said in the negotiation that I don't play with blood. I'm not I don't do blood sport, right? So we just, I stopped the scene for a moment, and she's like, "No, I'm fine." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not fine. I'm not fine." And so
she wanted you to keep going.
Yeah. I mean, ethically, I stopped to just tell her, "Yeah, I need you."
Like, honey, you're bleeding.
And I don't even know that she would have even known that because, I've been flogging her, and so the area is already on fire. Ethically, I let her know. I treated it with my alcohol pads that I have in my nifty. Can you see my little box here? Yeah.
Yep. See
in
it.
my box, and I cleaned the knife off, and we kept it moving. But the knife play. So yes, I have. I might have even done it one other time, but it was that the subject was moving and should not have been moving.
So let me ask you, you're going to have people viewing this, subscribers, first-timers who may want to know more about Edgeplay or may be curious. And of course, from my understanding, this doesn't seem like something a person just jumps into right away.
Ooh.
So for someone
you don't want to have that kind of thing going on. Yeah.
So for someone watching and they're like, look, I want to try, what are the first steps? Like someone who is brand new, a virgin to it, completely green, what are the very first steps to getting into this kink and implementing it in your own life?
Get a mentor. And also, if you are a person, the perspective also matters. If you want to be the subject of edge play, you need to not only have a mentor, because that mentor can help you find some qualified edge players with good reputations and who aren't shady, because just like in every community, there are shady as fuck people in the leather community too. We're not exempt, right? So a mentor and someone who can talk with you about what it is you are looking for. A lot of times people don't know what they're looking for until they've found it, right? But at least that person can help you understand a little bit about who does what. I don't do rope play on a large scale. Some people are like, so I live, where I live, there's a balcony, right? If I want someone to tie me up and suspend me on the outside of the balcony, Lady D, who do I need to talk to, right? Daddi Cole, who do you know who is not going to, drop me in the swimming pool, or, who's going to bring me back in when I say, hippopotamus, or whatever my safe word is, right?
Hippopotamus.
Whatever it is. So yeah, talking with people. If you are looking to become an edge player, my guess would be that you should be an experienced BDSM player first. Don't go from 0 to 2001. You want to stay out of jail.
That's important.
And some of what you're doing in terms of your edge play, I don't say criminal. It could be a type of lawlessness depending upon where you are. Great example, and you're going to have to bring me back because this is a good story. Great example is you and your girl go out and you all decide, look, honey, we're going to get a little sexy. So you go stand over there on that corner with your booty shorts on and some tall boots, okay? And your little whatever you got on up here. I'm going to drive by, look like I'm pimping. I'm going to lean out the window, and you act like you getting in my car, and we don't know each other, and blah, 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 blah. We just going to do something crazy for
like
shits and grins. It's like a role play thing. If the wrong cop rolls up on that, you're going to have to convince them that that's your girl and y'all live together or whatever. So that is all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Right. Similarly, right, even when I'm playing, when I'm doing knife play, if I'm in public, I introduce what I'm doing, I introduce consent, that the person has consent. And I say that if you see something here that makes you want to call 911 or pull out your gun, don't take me out, I have consent. I have consent. And before you call 911, even talk with the person, the promoter, talk with the producer of the show, and then call 911. If you're not convinced, if you think that this guy who has a knife pressed to his throat is really in trouble, I'm gonna need you to check with 2 people first.
I'm like, ask around first.
Ask around. You know how they do it. Some of the Baptist churches, turn and talk to your neighbor, and say, I'm gonna need y'all to talk to 2 neighbors before you call 911, because you may not know what you're looking at, or you might be maybe this is beyond your scope and you need to leave the room, which is fine.
Possibly.
Because maybe you never know. When you are doing kink, even when you're just having a traditional sexual relationship, sometimes stimulating different parts of people's bodies might bring up something for them that they didn't know was there.
Triggering.
They may be triggered. Sometimes you don't know that you're going to be triggered until what? You're triggered, right?
Until someone pulls the trigger.
Yeah, until someone does. So that's something to be aware of too. Again, going back to just, lawlessness is fun until you're locked up, right?
Yeah, that's no fun.
Yeah. And fortunately that's never happened to me, and watch it never happen to me.
We're not gonna speak that in existence.
That's not gonna happen, I promise you.
You brought up the example of Baptist church, and that was something, I think that's a great segue into a question. I just thought about it because being involved in this life, and again, you are an Atlanta influencer. A lot of people know about you, but this is Atlanta, this is Georgia, the Bible Belt, very conservative.
Yes.
Being in the kink community, being an expert in BDSM, has there ever been times where people have either stereotyped or generalized or given their own, watching it through a conservative or very religious, because this is Atlanta, there's not only a strip club but a mega church on every corner.
Every one.
What are some generalizations and stereotypes you think people have about people in the kink community or people who practice BDSM or even Edgeplay?
So, I'll give you the short list.
Okay.
I'll give you the short list. And I'm going to start by saying that I am a leather person. I'm also a lesbian and a black person, right? Lesbians who are more conservative like to stay distant from the kink and leather community, right? And I think it has to do with respectability politics and credibility. The question in their minds being, well, look, especially if you're also African American, like, okay, you're already dealing with the blowback that society gives you from being black and from being a woman and from being a lesbian. Now you're just gonna add this on for shits and grins? Is that what we want to do?
Piling on the...
Right. So I get it. However, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. And whatever comes my way, I just, I try to educate people. But I've also thought that at my age, I feel like I'm always educating people about something. I'm telling black people why they shouldn't be homophobes, and I'm telling lesbians why you can't be racist. And so I'm sometimes telling the LGBT community why you can't be anti-leather and anti-kink for other people. Not for other people. You do what you do in your house, in your home, in your wherever you go to play, right? But don't bring that to me. Now, if you're bringing an honest curiosity and you've done what you did, Trey Amazing, you did some research and then you said, I want to learn more about this. If that's how you're rolling up on me, I'm happy to spend time with you, right? So some of the stereotypes are, one, you don't have anything better to do, right? So this can't be, no, seriously, it's sort of like, I've held a state license, I'm gonna leave it there, in 4 states in this country, right? So the idea that I can pass a background test is really weird to people. They're like, you mean you're not like really a criminal? Yeah, no, like I can't do time. That's not my kink.
People have said that to you?
Not directly.
Oh.
I think it's a stereotype about lawlessness. And I keep using that word, right? It's like, so if you can do that, I know you can't hold a job, or I know you can't really be, serious about anything else in your life, because you run around with knives to people's throats, or you run around, tying people up, or flogging people, or doing whatever it is y'all crazy BDSM kinksters do, right? Too bad you just can't have missionary sex like the rest of us, right? Or whatever. I'm not mad at missionary.
Yeah.
Please understand. But to say that that's what everybody should be doing all the time is problematic for my life, right?
Yeah, I don't want to do that also.
Yeah, it's problematic for me.
of
And I would say the other thing, and this comes also with what the media has done, is pathologizing, right? So if you want to do that, or you want that done to you, you must have childhood trauma, you must have some kind of mental illness, you must be what I call a heart sadist. So, in BDSM, the SM is for sadism and masochism, right?
Right.
But I like to clarify that, because the sadists that you see on Criminal Minds are, Jeffrey Dahmer-esque, right? They're sociopaths, they're psychopaths, they're narcissists who have no sense of right and wrong. If I get off because you flinch because I hit the bat on the ground, that doesn't mean that that's the way I live my life. This is a scene, right? We're pretending. It's
like a performance.
Yeah, but we're also delving into the, darker, more interesting, edgy parts of ourselves that you cannot do on your day job, right? I'm good with that. I'm also a stage actor, so it's just very deeply fulfilling and enjoyable for me when I'm doing these things with folks who enjoy having them done.
Right.
Right? I'm not twisting an arm. There are no victims here, at least not in my circle, right?
Goes back again to they gave consent.
Consent, right. So I guess that's it. Just sort of like, how can I take you seriously as a human being if you like doing, wrapping people in chains and making cute little vests with ropes.
Right. Well, and the reason I asked that, because I've lived in Atlanta almost 26 years. Wow, yeah, I've been here for a while, and just understanding, even if you're just looking at it from black people, just strictly black people, black people can be very conservative here.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I've often wondered, when talking to members of the kink community, people who are expert in BDSM, I'm like, what has been some of your experiences as far as people judging and generalizing and stigmatizing and so many things?
I will also add that the folks that I'm friends with whom I am friends, who are like super churchy, I think their way, because they like me, right? Their way of coping is sort of to make it a joke. Like, this can't be really something you're super into, because like, that's just you so crazy. Like, you so crazy. And some people do that about my being a lesbian too, because they don't believe in lesbians, but they like me, they love me.
They don't think lesbians exist, or they
That's why I'm making that, because who says that, right? That's what they're like, I don't really believe in lesbians. Oh, look, I'm invincible. But yeah, people, and I think black people, and that's who I tend to have in my friendship group, struggle if they are conservative, right? Now, if you're off the right wing, you're not in my circle to begin with, because you hate me, right? And I don't suffer fools.
Oh no, I agree. I don't have anybody far right in my circle.
Yeah, it's not that I don't think you deserve to breathe the same air. well, there are a few exceptions, but generally speaking, I respect your humanity, but I don't suffer fools like that.
Right. No, I agree. I'm with you. I feel the exact same way.
But there's some people who are more like my late mother, who are just so conditioned in the way that they think about higher powers and the way that they think about God, that they're like, this is the way, you know. And and a lot of religious denominations are that way. There is one way, and we have it right. And anyone who's not doing this one thing this way, is wrong. And whatever their version of what happens to wrong people is their version of it, right?
And that was the reason why I was asking, because Atlanta.
Yeah, you can't catch me up like that. You don't even want to do Bible discussions with me, because I got ministers all over my family. I'll shred you and leave you bloody. You don't want to do it with me. That was the reason I
was asking, because it does happen. Because it's like it does. There's a singular paradigm of how we're supposed to behave. Sexually, non-sexually, whatever the case may be. Right. And anything.
And with whom?
Anything outside of that, it's inferior. It's wrong. It's abomination. It's whatever. And I'm just like, here in the Deep South, it's like it is very conservative, even among black people. I'm like, well, damn. Yeah,
don't forget, I try to remind people, Atlanta is in Georgia, right? I mean, don't y'all go running out to the counties, thinking you're gonna have a great time. I still can't find a gay bar in Gwinnett County.
In Gwinnett? Oh.
Huge ass county.
You going up? That's up north.
It's 20 minutes from your house. Okay. Still can't find a gay bar.
Maybe you can start one, or
I don't have that business degree, but maybe I can convince some people to give you the money to do that, even if it's a lot of people who straight folks or presumed straight folks who are doing stuff with I'm gonna give you a better example than that. I know that there is a masculine of center like strippers, black strippers. The whole outfit is run by straight men, two straight men. And they making like, I feel some kind of way about it, because I'm like, y'all making these dudes a lot of money. You can't find no lesbians, but that's who has the, money. Financing is an issue, right? For women in particular, for queer women even more so, right? So I'm just saying, you got the background, you could just, and if you don't want people to get it twisted, you can just wear you a t-shirt, I'm not gay, I'm just with the gays.
Well, I've always considered myself an ally, and even with kink and BDSM communities, as long as I've been covering, and I have great friend people that I have the utmost respect for, I've had to put it out there like, look, a lot of the stuff I don't implement in my own bedroom. However, I do consider myself an ally, because I do feel like they are in no position, nobody's in a position to tell them what's wrong, or if someone is, regardless if they're polyamorous or swinging or whatever it is that they like, I feel like I don't necessarily have to do it, but I feel like it is nothing wrong with it, and I feel like I support what they do.
My biggest thing is no victims. Period. Or as they say, period.
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 There's a T in there somewhere.
Yeah, that's it.
There you go.
Yeah, when you got victims in the mix, you got a problem.
I got you.
And, as I like to say, when people start going, well, if when the right wing is talking specifically about the LGBTQ community, something that always comes up, and it's always during elections, right, is, well, if you'll do that, then you'll, have sex with a pig. Well, first of all, y'all ignorant as fuck, but let me just set that aside for a moment. Then I'm like, go do the research on who it is out here having sex with pigs. They're usually straight, married, white men. So stop playing with me. Okay, do not play with me. I know my shit, okay? But my point was, if you can't consent, which to me means you're an animal or a child, or you have some kind of illness that does not allow you to give consent, you should not be in any kind of mix with folks who are doing anything sexual. That's just those are my limits. I don't think kids can consent. And by kid, I mean 17 and in 30 days, 29 days from your 18th birthday, you still a kid.
Aw.
Don't come over here. I'm you know. And people are like, "Oh, you're so conservative to be so freaky and just off the chains." I'm like, it depends on what you ask me. You know, don't come here with no. Yeah, I can't.
Like I'll be 18 and
No, mm-mm. And I'm gonna tell you. Let me tell you, unrelated, but not really, because she was kinky too. I was in college when I had the first relationship with a woman. When I tell you that girl hung around and we did that shit on my 18th birthday, I respect that. I do. She knew me for a whole year, and we were just like, and I was like, come on. She's like, nope.
Like you ain't 18
Like,
yet.
nope.
But at midnight?
Yes. It was on and popping on my 18th birthday.
Not it. So I'm like.
So I roll like that, you know. I mean, I don't mean that I roll with you know, young adults. That's, you gotta know my music.
So I mean, someone like, hey, I'll be 18 in 3 days. It's close enough, right? Close enough.
You better
right?
go sit down for 3 days, ma'am, and then find you somebody who kind of near your age who's experienced. But what I will do is I will, you know, mentor your, you know, if you're, for example, you're a bottom, or you're interested in learning about submission, or you even think you got a slave soul, I will mentor your person. That's what I will do.
You know, and that's a great segue to where we are right now. Before we wrap up, for the viewers and subscribers out there who want to find more about Daddi Cole, because again, I do feel like you have a reputation. Your reputation precedes you, and you have the respect of a lot of key figures here. But for the people who want to learn more about you, where can they find Daddi Cole? Oh,
let's see if I even know. One of my my Instagram handle is Book Daddi Cole, and it's Daddi. So it's Book Book Daddi Daddi Cole Cole, and it's something. It might be like an underscore and then Lore House, which is the name of my leather house.
Okay. Lore House.
Lore House.
Okay.
HOUSE. And if you do Facebook, like the Facebook address.com /Daddi Cole's Charm, no apostrophe, just Daddi Daddi Cole's Charm. Yeah, then that will pop up for you as well. That's what I got that, you know, that I can pull from my head right now. I'll give you other information. What I do want to add is that my company, Agenda Benda Justice, has an opportunity for that centers black lesbian women to go to get breast and pelvic exams and pap smears. One appointment once a year. You have to reach out to me. I'm going to give you Agenda Benda gear as at gmail.com. Agenda Benda gear, GEAR. Come on.
All right.
At gmail.com, and just request the appointment. I will contact you and we will work it out. We even give you, I know this is not a lot, but we give you $30 for gas and $30 for taking a half day off work, and that assumes you work at McDonald's.
Right,
but okay.
That's something.
And we cover the one appointment at Atlanta GYN and OB, which is Dr. Mandeville. It's the doctor I've had for over 12 years. So I don't tend to refer to people I don't know. And she's in Decatur and Lilburn. But anyway, reach out. We really want masculine of center women and masculine of center folks who, even if you are someone who is doing hormone therapy, if you got some titties, we want you to go get just a manual exam, a clinical exam. And if you got a coochie, we want you to get that checked out. To just make sure you got everything in place the way it's supposed to be, right?
Make sure you stay healthy.
Yeah. That's all it is. We're not trying to get all up in your business.
Right.
But because a lot of the, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Yep.
And a lot of the breast cancer stuff is so fucking pink. Okay, we want to balance that out a little bit with Agenda Bender. So write me, agendabendergear@gmail.com, so we can get you in.
All this information will be in the description. I'm gonna make it easy for everybody. You can just click it, look down, read the description. Everything from Daddi Cole social media, the website, Facebook, and the information Gmail, it will be in the description. So
That's how you spell it right there, Daddi Cole.
Bada bing. Hold it up a little bit more.
Okay, let me hold it up. This is from the first day I went to a Black Kink conference. It was called Black Beat. It was in 2006.
Indeed.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Everybody, we're going to make it easy for you. Look down in the description. Find Daddi Cole. He is known out here. He is known in these kink streets. Somebody,
in the kinkiest streets.
I'm telling you, somebody you definitely want to have on your friends list. The wealth of information, and he has already agreed to come back for a part 2.
Yep.
So we're going to have a sequel to this. I mean, we're talking about so much. There's a wealth of information that we still want to know. Daddi Cole, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everybody
so
out
much.
there, make sure you
Thank
subscribe. Make sure you give this video a like. Drop some comments down below. Let us know, your thoughts.
And don't comment without liking. I understand that's a problem in how things show up. Like
sure
it,
like
love it, subscribe, and comment.
Thumbs up it and subscribe.
All that.
All that. This is Ringside's Corner Confessions. Daddi Cole, thank you so much. And we are out.
All right.